Hello and welcome to the RetailX studio. It's my great pleasure today to be talking about the e-commerce 2020 report as part of our e-commerce worldview. We've got some great studio guests, but just a few preliminary points. So firstly, if you haven't already downloaded the wonderful report that is the 2020 report, you can get it free of charge if you're a retailer. Sorry, non-retailers, that's the way life goes, winners and losers, but retailers, you are winners. So if you're in our top 1,000 retailers or brands, just go to the website, the link's there, retailx.net, enter your work email, and as if by magic, it'll be free of charge for you. Now, I know what's going through your mind. You're thinking 184 pages of detailed research. You know, how can I get through all of that? This is what we're here for. So today we're going to go through just the highlights of the report and look forward to the 2021 version, which will be out this summer. So, as if by magic, let us now uncloak and reveal our lovely guests. So I'm joined by Ludo, who's in Italy. Ludo is our researcher who does all of the work, by Thomas from Asendia and Elle from Iterable. So we'll be handing over to Ludo in a second, but first of all, let's hear from Thomas and then from Elle. Thomas, tell everyone who you are, a little bit about Asendia, and what you're looking forward to discussing in today's conversation. Thomas, you start us off, please.
Thank you, Ian. And first of all, thank you very much for the chance to be here and talk to you. It's a pleasure. And yet, some words about me and Asendia. I'm working with Asendia since end of 2019. Asendia is a company present in 17 countries across the globe. What we do is, very briefly, facilitating global e-commerce for retailers. So from a logistics point of view, we are, let's say, an intermediary for everybody who wants to spread his business across the world, no matter in which region or country. So we are serving more than 200 destinations globally. And our main intention is easiness and ease of use for our customers, which means getting complexity out of the business when it comes to scaling internationally.
Great. Well, look, everyone is keen to scale to new markets. So just give us a preview. What's top of mind for you? You're looking at 2021. What's on your mind?
The interesting thing in 2021 for us is, and it is, of course, a little bit coming off of the current situation we are in. So we all have been suffering, or let's say a bit picky profiting from what we experienced the last year, which is a pandemic situation. And no matter if retailers, e-tailers were forced more into e-commerce because of restrictions we had globally in the business, what we see is a very tremendous and interesting development. And this is exactly what I mentioned before in scaling their business. So setting up easy, self-containing e-commerce delivery channels and business business revenue streams. And what we see is that especially a lot of smaller retailers are challenged by these developments. And the thing is that it's interesting to see when they started, maybe forced to during the pandemic situation, they now experienced a potential growth area for their business. And it's interesting to see and growth with these kind of businesses. And this will be interesting in 2021.
Lovely. Well, let's hope it is a growth trajectory. Elle, who are you, Iterable, and what's on your mind?
Great questions, Ian. And first, I just wanted to echo Thomas and say thank you so much to yourself and Ludo for inviting me to take part in this. I'm really excited to be talking with you all today. And I'll have to say, when I saw a 184-page report, Ian, to your point, I got a little bit nervous, but there's so much great information in there. And it was really fascinating to read through it. So don't be afraid, anyone out there, to read 144 pages. It's worth it. From my side, though, so I'm Elle. I'm the Senior Director of Customer Success at Iterable. Iterable is a cross-channel platform, and really what we do is we power unified customer experiences and enable marketers to create, optimize and measure every interaction throughout the customer journey. I'm based in our London office, and I lead our EMEA customer success team.
Great. And what are you thinking of for 2021? You know, you've read the report, and you know we're in the cut and thrust of the year already.
Yep.
What topics top of mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what Thomas just mentioned really resonated with me. 2020 really accelerated the digital transformation of e-commerce businesses across Europe. And I think what we saw, to Thomas's point, is millions of new users subscribe to online and mobile channels. So what I think that is really important for brands to focus on this year is three things. Firstly is a personalized cross-channel customer experience. Secondly, and this is one that I could talk all day about, is building a sustainable as well as an empathetic corporate image. And then I think the third area is really investing more heavily in mobile and innovative technology that can help support what I'm terming as a socially distant future. But I think that's what we have in store for all of us. So I'm excited to see how we tackle it.
Great. Well, look, that was 3 answers the price of 1. So
there you go.
I appreciate that. Now, I think you both touched on things that, behind the scenes, we've been talking about a lot, which is, this challenge of growth and how do you actually deliver in both senses on the digital promises you're making to customers, especially across border. And I'm pleased that Thomas didn't mention the B word, but of course we're all really going through the realities of, the forms, the difficulties, the challenges that barriers can create. So very interested to bring those down. And I think you're totally right about this idea where we've gone from a multi-channel world to an enforced digital world. As we come back into balance, it's going to be a different approach. So I wonder actually even whether we can stop talking about transformation, because it's now in the past, who knows? But anyway, Ludo, listen, we of course know who you are, but maybe you just want to update everybody listening, who is the person behind the report?
Well, thank you, Ian. Behind the report, it's me, Ludovica, and I'm research analyst at RetailX, taking care of most of our country e-commerce report and regional e-commerce report.
Great.
So,
well, look, it's great to get you, behind the cameras and behind the report. So why don't we just hand over to you now then, Ludo? You have selected from the report a couple of highlights using some key countries as examples of their regions. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the report so we can get our brain around it, and then walk us through. And of course, we'll interrupt as you go through, as is our terrible habit.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you can see from these slides, from the graphs, almost 70% of Europeans have shopped online in 2019, and it has continued to rise since 2015. So we projected to have this number always to increase year by year. Western Europe is the most mature e-commerce market in Europe, and with 70% market share of total B2C turnover. If we move more into regions, Western Europe dominates the European e-commerce sector, in great part because it includes some of the most advanced industrialized countries in the world of e-commerce. It includes the highest percentage of e-shoppers in Europe, 83%. And when looking at country-by-country basis, UK leads Western Europe with 91% share of e-shoppers. This is followed by the Netherlands and Germany. Moreover, the UK dominates in terms of spending too, followed by France and Germany. In fact, when it comes to some countries we decided to look into more carefully, we have Germany delivery methods. And the most important thing for German consumers is to being able to choose the place, but also the time of delivery. While for Ireland, when it comes to cross-border shopping, United Kingdom is the first country where they refer to shop cross-border. And the most used payment methods in the Netherlands is Ideal. It is really, really common in the Netherlands to have everyone managed by Ideal, and also most of retailers offer these payment methods. So here the question maybe for Thomas is, what are the main characteristics you see among German consumers when it comes to delivery methods?
like you've seen in your studies, of course, I would first of all call it a little bit more general. The essential success factor for the retailers and e-tailers is flexibility on delivery methods. So basically, when you look at changing circumstances, even in the last year, especially in the last year, the flexibility made the winners at the end of the day, because habits with people changed, habits in demographics changed, because there was a complete new target group for e-shopping, for e-commerce, and therefore the flexibility had to be there because you were less focused on certain target groups, on certain buyer groups. And when it comes especially to Germany, you have to be aware in Germany there's a special thing, and it's different from country to country, and this is really tricky for our business and the retailer's business. You have to have the local flavor in your delivery methods, and this is what I call flexibility. For example, in Germany, and just take me as an example, we know the postman coming each day bringing our parcels, and he knows best what our dogs like, and he's prepared. So this is a very personal relationship sometimes, and this is personal habit. And therefore, when it comes to the different countries, and we talk about European-wide delivery and retail business, knowing about these specialities per country and per region is important. And this is a complexity which is difficult to manage, but it's a success factor.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what are the main characteristics you see in Western Europe?
In Western Europe, it's difficult to put it in a region. Or to make it general for a region, because I remember last time a webinar you had about France, the e-commerce report in France, and then you see complete different infrastructure and behavior and habits in this country, which is completely different from a neighbor country already. So when you put it in regions, it's difficult. But for example, the difference in France, like mentioned in the last session, is that you have the standardized postbox environment and infrastructure, which is not applicable to any other country. But when it comes to a region like Western Europe, the flexibility, like in Germany, with time and place of delivery remains the key factors. So let's say speed and quality of service is given as a given fact, as a commodity. Then it comes to the flexibility of time and place, and that's across Western Europe the same.
So from a customer perspective then, one of the things we found when we were doing our European research is there are not many retailers that operate in multiple countries. So although the brands tend to be pan-European and often global, retailers tend to be local. And so the customer is even more local because they think, well, I'm used to my post, I'm used to my pickup, drop off, etc. So from a retailer perspective, if you're selling into a market, it's unlikely the customer wants to totally adapt to you. You have to totally adapt in each locality as well as each country. Is that a fair requirement, do you think, Thomas?
It is, and it's across the entire value chain. Because at the end of the day, what is important for the retailer? The retailer looks at the conversion rate in his online shop. And the conversion rate in its online shop is highly dependent on the quality of localization in the means of payment, delivery, language, local flavors of language. Sometimes it's much more important than people think. It's not only about translation, it's about getting the sense of the local flavors into tonality and all the stuff on your website. And then when it comes to the final delivery, like I said before, remember, this is let's say one of the most emotional moments in the value chain of e-commerce, because this is the first time you really get in contact what you ordered online. So this is the difference between offline shopping on the high street. And so the delivery experience is one of the crucial parts of the entire customer experience. And especially France, Germany, taking those both examples again, people think very local. There's an emotional factor of trust in what you do online, especially on certain, let's say, certain type of products you buy online, which are not more commodities, but more luxury, more expensive, more products which needs explanation. There's a level of trust in online conversion rates and shop conversion rates that needs this proper localization.
And Elle, we're talking about the flow from the website to the customer. Are you seeing a similar thing, that these parallel experiences of the different channels between start and finish need to be brought together?
Definitely. I think Thomas raises a really good point around trust. You know, no matter which country you're in or which region in Europe, that seems to be an underlying theme, is the consumers really want to trust the brands that they're buying from. And what we're finding is that the messaging is key around that. So having that omni-channel experience, providing a really seamless way to shop between mobile and online. And then once that delivery is out, making sure that you're communicating with the user or the consumer around where it's at, when they can expect it to be delivered. And I think the other point that's really interesting here as well that we've seen in the last year is how brands are responding to returns. Because more and more goods are being purchased online now. And so that return period is becoming almost as crucial as the delivery in terms of that customer experience.
Yes, great. Ludo, do continue. So we went off piece slightly as predicted.
No, it was super interesting. So moving to another region in Europe, it is Northern Europe, which is the second strongest region for number of e-shoppers, with almost 80% of e-shoppers. However, it is third in terms of e-commerce turnover. As a relatively stable market, it is not showing the huge rates of the likes of Eastern and Southern Europe. Looking on a country-by-country basis, Denmark leads the region in terms of B2C turnover, followed by Norway and Sweden. Latvia shows the lowest spending of Northern Europe, as well as the lowest percentage of e-shoppers. However, Latvia has the highest e-commerce turnover growth rate, followed by Estonia. In Estonia, we saw that the most purchased category was travel, of course, when possible, but of course also clothes and household goods, which of course during COVID-19 crisis, it is understandable people redecorating their houses, make their home office more suitable for webinars.
I can attest to that, Ludo, for sure.
And the most payment method used in Finland was mobile pay, while in Sweden, the most delivery method was pickup collection and location. So click and collect is gaining importance. We see everything and in every region that it is really interesting. But of course, it was maybe more interesting when people could really go into stores and try and experience the in-store shopping experiences, while with COVID-19, of course, people have to receive their packages at home. Do you think people will miss the in-store shopping experience if this COVID-19 crisis will last too long?
I'm happy to, yeah, I'm happy to answer that one. You know, it's a really great question, Ludo. I think at the start of the pandemic, when, you know, we were cooped up inside, I think I would have said, yes, I'll definitely miss that in-store experience. And I think, you know, a lot of consumers would have thought the same. But when I look at the market now, I think the pandemic has really highlighted trends that were already in existence, especially in the UK. I mean, the British high street has been in decline for a number of years. More shopping is moving online. And I think because of that, we're only going to see an increase in online shopping. And I think one of the things that brands have to think about is how do they take that in-store experience and leverage technology to provide the same sort of experience online, whether that be in an app. We've seen a huge increase in apps in the last 12 months, or whether that be in new technology. I read about a Japanese company a couple of weeks ago. They've designed a pair of glasses that you as a consumer can try on, and that it'll detect your skin tone and allow you to buy cosmetics online. They're also developing a Zozo mat as well as a suit, so you can, from home, try on shoes and clothes through VR. So I think that's really exciting, and we're seeing that experience of being in store move online, and I really think that'll be the trend and the direction that we head in.
So can I just, sorry, Thomas, I'll just push Elle a little bit on this. So a VR headset, £299 on Amazon. It's got a 4-hour battery life, makes your glasses fog up, and you've got to carry these little wrist things. Realistically, we're not going to find people who are maybe price conscious paying £300 plus batteries just to buy things. So if we look at this year, where do you see that experience focus moving? So, I've got teenage kids, and the main reason they'd go shopping is to hang out with their friends. And the shop is, if you like, a background for the social behavior. Whereas the influence they're getting seems to be social media, Instagram, various things that people over 20 can't tell because you're not a teenager. So, I've identified the impact of social, Instagram, TikTok, Reels, etc. So that's something we can be doing now. Are there any other things that are taking up the experience social gap that maybe the decline or challenge of the high street has made?
Definitely. And I think, VR is the extreme end of the spectrum. I definitely agree with you, Ian. We're not all going to have a headset or a mat or a bodysuit in our house that we can just don and have this amazing experience. But I think it's an example of the direction that we can head in. If you take it back sort of 100 steps and you think about the now and the availability for everybody, I think apps are a really fantastic way to go when it comes to creating that in-store experience. Mobile apps used to be largely transactional. You would go onto them to make one purchase, and then we saw a decline in people re-engaging with those apps. But mobile now, especially in the pandemic, you have your teenagers, your mums, your grandparents sitting on the sofa and they're bored and they want to go online and they want to use mobile apps to not just purchase a product, but do their research, ask friends or share products with them. And so apps have become this real ability for a brand to express themselves, to help consumers discover something or learn something or share something. And I think
the technology hasn't changed. It's just better use of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Thomas, sorry, I interrupted you. You were about to say?
Yeah, but that's a perfect point, because technology was there for years already. But this situation has proven that every idea has the right time. And if I think back 10 years ago, I remember very much I was working for an e-commerce agency back then, and we developed an app for IKEA. And what you could do is not virtual, but augmented reality. You were able to put the furniture from IKEA virtually into your room with the augmented reality application. And looking back to this time, I remember we won a lot of awards, innovation awards with this app, but nobody used it. So this was the reality back then. If you look by today, it has changed. So I
remember using that app as a demonstration of the future that was about to happen. So look, we all enjoyed that. That's a very good point. So I'm just going to give you some fair warning. You said, Thomas, every idea has the right time. So when we get to the end of the webinar, I would love you and Elle, I'll give you a few minutes to think, to tell me which idea the time is now. Okay, so time to think. Let's go back to Ludo to carry on our journey. Now you've had fair warning. Ludo.
Yeah, we move now to Central Europe, who shows a strong internet usage and e-shoppers rates at the strongest growth rate in e-commerce shoppers. Looking on a country by basis, internet usage is fairly consistent across the countries in the 80% range for all. The e-shopper rate is also the highest for Switzerland, 83%, while it is the lowest for Hungary. The growth rate in online shoppers is driven mostly by Hungary, followed by Poland and Czechia. So we see in Austria the most used payment method is still invoice, and the line payment like PayPal and Amazon Pay are gaining more and more importance. The most purchased products in Slovakia are, for example, clothes and sports still, and house of goods again. While in Switzerland, the most used payment method is e-finance. And it is interesting to see how different payment methods change by country and also by region, countries in the same region. But when it comes to sustainability and in all his phases, so in e-payments and delivery, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah. On sustainability, maybe if I start, or ladies first, Elle, if you want. But
by all means, Thomas, go for it.
The sustainability aspect, there's one key thing, and this is not a trend for the last year, but a trend for some years. You see a growing impact of sustainability and green options within the buyer's landscape. So the importance is rising a lot, and with everything that happened in the last year, even faster than before. The sustainability question at the end of the day starts everywhere in the value chain of e-commerce. Now, talking about the delivery aspect, as you know, we are part of the La Poste Group in France, a subsidiary or a daughter company of La Poste. They're doing zero-emission deliveries since 2012. We are doing this now, for example, for Switzerland, for France, for certain destinations where we offer a full carbon neutral delivery option. And what we see is that by not being in direct contact with the shopper, but with our customers, each retailers, we see how they challenge also us and all the other logistics companies and suppliers with the question of carbon neutral products and services. And therefore you can see definitely the rising impact. There's another aspect to this, a very key question that is always difficult to answer. When people think green, they think of expensive. And it costs money, and offering this carbon neutral solutions and delivery solutions or other solutions might drive costs at the end of the day. But you can also think completely different about this from another perspective, because the green aspect and the carbon neutral delivery doesn't start only at the last mile, where a postman is coming to your door bringing the parcel. There's a lot of supply chain and logistics chain in front of this last mile. And when you think about consolidation and you think about consolidation options, especially in European-wide business, if you want to sell in different countries, think about consolidation and transport. When you get parcels out of your warehouse into a logistics hub where they get sorted for the delivery in the final destination country. All these aspects of transportation in between, they can be thought through. And this is not only a cost aspect, this is also a green sustainability aspect, but also a cost aspect in a positive way, because if you are able to consolidate your European-wide deliveries, you even save money. So this is just an example on how sustainability and the fear of sustainability as a cost driver can also be turned the other way around and helps even, let's say, create some win-win situations.
And Thomas, to be practical, if I'm the retailer, do I have to do all the hard work? Or do I just ring you and say, oh, Thomas, can you do some consolidation for me? And then just tell me how good I'm being or how much money I'm saving? Who does the hard work here?
Unfortunately, it's us. Sorry to say. No,
that's great. That was the right answer.
We can do this work for our customers. A lot of larger companies, they have their entire departments taking care of this. But on the other hand, this is part of our business. So we are not moving only a parcel from place A to place B. What we do is this kind of consulting work towards our customers. At the end of the day, it's a question of efficiency, internal workload at our customers, and what can be outsourced towards a partner. And this is dependent on whom you're working with. So different suppliers have different ranges of services they offer, but you can, or our customers can, challenge us with this. And then it's not only about the sustainability and green aspect, there's also cost saving aspects in there.
Great. I think you'll get some phone calls after that. Elle, if you pick up on this, can you maybe take us closer to the consumer's view? So as they are looking at this, what do you see that they see?
Yeah, I love that question, because I think what Thomas just talked about in terms of the operations behind the sustainability movement is so important. But then when you look at the consumer, the reason I'm so excited about it is I really have seen this shift in the consumer mindset from convenience to having a conscience about our place in the world and the effect that our buying behaviors are having on our planet. And I think what that's doing is it's really forcing brands to think about their corporate image and their social responsibility in 2021 and beyond. And that's not just things like the way products are packaged and delivered, but it's also including things like donations at checkout. It's pushing for European legislation changes, and just in general how we view ease versus efficiency. And I think one thing that COVID has really done is that it's highlighted a need for brands to be empathetic and to focus on the customer experience and improve that trust that Thomas was talking about a little bit earlier. It's not just being green, it's how you approach many social issues that is really going to bring your brand to the forefront. And it's great that consumers are asking for that because it's causing this change that we're then seeing evidenced at an operational level.
Essentially, we did some research for our grocery sector report. And what was fascinating was how the consumer is very appreciative of the work that frontline staff at grocers have done. And we're starting to see some evidence that the consumer is taking note of whether the retailer as an employer is looking after their staff, protecting them, giving them the tools and support they need. So again, I do think, that's one of the positive things to come out is an appreciation of, how the retailer acts. I'm just conscious of time, even though there's no particular push, but I just wanted to make sure that Ludo gets through the sector. So if we return to that, we'll pick up on other points a bit later. Ludo, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll move to Eastern Europe, which has the smallest e-commerce market in Europe. The region has the lowest internet usage, and the proportion of online shoppers is still small, so around 36%. However, the region has seen the strongest growth in shopper numbers, but also the stronger growth in turnover rates are also rising strongly. And Romania saw actually the highest e-commerce turnover growth, followed by Bulgaria and North Macedonia. So Bulgaria is still shopping mostly nationally, and Romania is used to more payment methods is cash and delivery, while Ukraine delivery method is collected from the stores. Of course, during COVID, it was not so possible. But what is interesting is local shopping, cross-border. I know Ian warned me to not say the B word, but what's going to happen with the custom duties?
Sorry, Ludo, say it again. What's going to happen?
With the custom duties. So everything's changing, cross-border shopping. So what do we need to expect?
Thomas, make us happy.
Yeah, you make me happy with this question. Thank you very much. No, basically, when we talk about Europe in general, we live in a paradise when it comes to customs and duties, of course. There were some nice people within the European Union who mixed it up a little bit. So when we talk about the Brexit and use the B word, so generally, let me answer this question a little bit generally. So what is currently happening with Brexit is a little bit of positive chaos. So there are some things that have to be sorted out. You see a lot of issues currently. It even gets more complex when you think about the entire return business that we mentioned earlier, because when it comes to taxes and duties, the returns are often a tricky thing for international retailers, and they have to find solutions. When it comes to taxes and duties in Europe or the international parcel business, for us, of course, this is daily business, right? So there need to be solutions in place, and we have solutions, and the delivery business has solutions for this. The tricky thing is, and we have seen a lot of projects at retailers who intended to extend their business globally or internationally, and up to this point, they haven't been used to these tax regulations and duties regulations. And going back to the very beginning of the value chain of e-commerce, the biggest problem was that when we came to the point that everything was sorted out, how to deliver certain parcels for a certain brand into different parts of the world, then you come to the point where you realize there's a basic thing which was neglected by the retailer, for example, which is data management. So basically, the best preparation for delivering internationally is having a good knowledge about tax and duty standards and regulations. But the first thing you have to do, for example, is have your product data ready and in place, because you need to fill out forms. You have to fill out certain paperwork to be able to deliver cross-border with tax and duties. And then you have to go back at a point of time where you wanted to start your business in Switzerland, in UK, wherever, and then you have to go back to the very core of your business and enhance your data you have about your products to be able to have HS codes in your data for your products, to be able to fill out the CN 22, 23, 1023 forms for taxes and duties. And this is, which means good preparation. So at the end of the day, if you're prepared as a retailer who wants to expand in a country with taxes and duties, just be prepared, and then there's nothing going wrong, because the delivery industry has their standards to do this. But as a retailer, look that you have all the information ready to be prepared in your back office.
Yeah. Which is why it was particularly positive to have about 8 hours notice of what the Brexit agreement was, so that we could all spend those 8 hours on New Year's Eve preparing for the forms. Anyway, let's not induce tears this side. Luda, let's crack on, please. Thank you, Thomas. That was a very good point.
Yeah, we have one last region to present, which is Southern Europe, which is the second largest e-commerce market, and it was the second highest e-commerce turnover growth rates for 2019. Despite their large-scale growth, the values of both markets are significantly different. Spain is the biggest in Southern Europe, followed by Italy and Greece. So what we can see is that trust is really, really important for customers, and we see it in countries more like Italy, Spain, where people really want to have a one-to-one experience, shopping experience. What's your opinion, Al, on this? Do you agree with this data, or there is something different we need to know?
I definitely agree with this data. I think that it's all about those personalized experiences at the moment, and that will continue. And we're seeing a lot of retailers invest online in the technology that's needed to capture zero and first-party data, and then be able to use that data to really inform how they are connecting with their consumers at every stage of the customer life cycle. So it all goes back to that trust piece again. I know we should say, instead of the B word, it should be the T word, I think, today for all of us. But, consumers really want that direct interaction with the brand. It's something that I think we've gotten a lot more used to in the last 12 months. And it's great to see sort of online retailers really responding to that and looking at how they can increase their personalization in the next few years.
Hal, just tell us what zero and first party data is, just in case anyone else like me is a bit fuzzy on how the parties work.
Yeah, no problem. It's a great question. So zero party data at a really high level would be any data that I expressly give to a brand. So a really simple way to think about it is when you sign up and you fill out a profile, you're expressly giving data about yourself, including maybe your gender, your age, your preferences. That'd be zero party data. And then first party data is behavioral data that a retailer might capture about you online. So if they're tracking the pages that you visit or how you respond to an email.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luda.
So last part of our talk is about COVID-19, of course, which has been a great change for behaviors and patterns. Because of the closures, one of the biggest changes has been a shift to e-commerce. We can see the change in France. So for retailers, the main difficulty was logistics. and supply chain. For Denmark, there has been differences in impact on consumers and entrepreneur behaviors. And for Poland, new online stores cropped all over Europe during the crisis. When it comes to Romania, payment methods used by consumers has been impacted. Hungary, despite the perceived high cost of delivery during the pandemic, many consumers still consider ordering cross-border. And what we saw in Italy is that the consumption methods as well as frequency changed substantially. So here, if we want to have an image of after the crisis, what will be for Europe to shop online?
Thomas, you go first.
I go first. Then could you please repeat the last half of your sentence? I wasn't sure about the...
what we will see as the main trends after the COVID-19 crisis will pass in Europe as a whole.
As a whole, I think if I do not make it too generic for the business we are in, but looking at the e-commerce overall, is that we will see a tremendous bounce back when the crisis, let's say, it's over or handled or under control. So what we talked about earlier is, are people missing the in-shop experience or the shopping experience? There are emotional and social aspects to that will never be replaced by e-commerce and online shopping. I think the most interesting change will be in the kind of goods and volumes that are ordered online, because what people have learned during the crisis is that it's not only about shopping the luxury, nice to have hobby articles that they tend to buy online for years already, but they had to supply their households with needs, the daily needs, and different kind of products that have been ordered online during the crisis. And people got into the mood and into the experience that it's easy to do. So the daily, weekly grocery shopping, whatever it is, you could do it differently. So there will be a shift. On the other hand, when it comes to the product types that we mentioned before, like hobbies, luxury article, clothing, I think we will see this bounce back into the offline shopping space. But hopefully, and this is something which retailers have learned and still have to learn, how to combine the different selling channels, which is online and offline. And we have seen huge progress on this before the crisis. The crisis brought new aspects to it, and I think we will see a next level of integrated multi-channel shopping after COVID-19.
Well, that sounds like an ideal point for Elle to pick up on it. Is that right? And was there anything else you were going to say?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Thomas, and I mentioned this earlier, but I really think one of the trends that we'll start to see is a shift towards mobile, and not just for purchasing goods and services, but also for that experience. Mobile has been a slow trend in recent years. I'm not going to sit here and say mobile only became a thing in the last year because of COVID, but I do think that the pandemic has really accelerated that shift to mobile. And I think because of that, to Thomas's point, brands are really going to have to invest in how mobile and these additional channels fit into that multi-channel, that omni-channel experience that they need to start creating as a brand. And mobile is an interesting one because it's not just apps. I know I talked about them before, but it's how do you take the benefits of technology and mobile in particular and maybe infuse those into an in-store experience. So as an example, Asda, one of the largest supermarkets here in the UK, you can actually sit in your car now and join a virtual queue, and then they call you in when it's your time to shop. So you don't have to stand in the cold, which is a big thing, I think, in the British winters. We're also seeing a huge shift in the health and wellness space towards apps as well. So we work with a fantastic subscription company called Fit. And when COVID caused all of the gyms to close down, they moved their in-person workouts to being done through the app. And they actually saw a 300% year-on-year growth just by making that shift and having that experience done through the comfort of being at home, but also getting that instructor-led tutorial. So I'm really looking at mobile and how brands can use that to infuse their existing experience.
And thanks, El. Thomas, can I just ask, do you really think that we're going to have a bounce back that is going to take us to the trajectory we would have been on? I ask this because often we see life through a lens of people who are middle class, affluent, whose jobs have been safe through the pandemic. But yet, I read something this morning saying that about 860 jobs a day have been lost to the retail sector in the UK. We're seeing a lot of people, who are going to come out of furlough without jobs, with mortgage and rent challenges. There's a part of me that, wants the bounce back, but another part of me that says the priority is not going to be shopping. So just calibrate this. Are we going to bounce back fully, just not be as bad? How do you have any sense of the scale of bounce back, taking into account that not everyone is going to be, sitting on their mobile shopping straight away?
I think my sentence was more related to the way and behavior of people, how they shop. I think not so much about volumes. You're right. So we of course we will see in this negative effects of the pandemic with a lot of businesses with a midterm bankruptcy after the pandemic. Even we will see that a lot of jobs got lost during this time. But from an emotional and shopping behaviors point of view, definitely would stay with the outlook that there will be a bounce back, just because for a simple emotional reason, people were trapped in their homes for a long period of time, and everybody's looking forward for some nice sunshine coming out and going on the streets again. So the behavior will be...
And back to the bars. Now, exactly. Thanks, Thomas. So, Ludo, look, before we totally wind up, big thank you. You have selected individual countries and charts that exemplify points, all of which are made in much more detail by country, by region, by theme, by topic in the report. So I do encourage everybody to go and have a read through Ludo's work. If you've any questions at all, I'm very happy to say that Ludo will look at them. So if you just email us, research@retailx.net, and we'll ignore all the hard questions and give them straight to Ludo, and we'll answer those. Also, tell us what you'd like next. Tell me, Ludo, when are we starting the bulk of the research for the 2021 report?
Well, we're going out at the very beginning of March with UK 2021, and then we will proceed all the year with the coming reports. We have already started research and working hard on it.
Lovely. Well, you're still smiling, which is good. So if there are things you want us to cover, we'll obviously follow up on COVID. We're going to be looking at the recovery as we can see it. We're going to be looking at the forecasts. We have some interesting sector analysis we're adding in. But if there's something that you would like us to cover, don't be shy. Asking costs nothing. So research@retailx.net. And also, we very much like to see what retailers are doing. So if you'd like to volunteer to brief us, share your successes with us, tell us what's on your mind, we would love to hear from you. But in order to round up, I did give Elle and Thomas a little heads up. To quote Thomas, every idea has the right time. So as we approach the end of the webinar, Elle, what idea has found its time?
Ian, I was hoping you were going to forget that you'd asked that question.
No, I wrote it down. I thought I've given you fair warning. I mean, you've talked eloquently about mobile, obviously. So I can't let you say mobile again. Is there anything else where you think now is the time?
I mean, I did mention that I'm really looking at VR. I think wasn't there a Google Glass or something at one time that came around and then went really quickly? Maybe it's time for that to come back, and then to think about maybe my childhood and something fun. I think now's the time to bring back the virtual pet, the Tamagotchi. I think it would be a good time.
Okay, well, there we are. That's one thing to do with VR. Thomas, it was your phrase, so I have to give you the credit for it. What idea has hit the right time just now?
Just now, and I close the loop to the beginning of our conversation. When we look at the retail landscape and the business landscape, I think it's now the right time for a lot of smaller and mid-sized retailers and businesses to have understood what digital transformation means. So especially, you know, this funny example and quote from other conferences where people say, COVID fostered our digital transformation more than our CDO or chief digital officer, whoever. And I expect that the trend for 21 will be that a lot of smaller and mid-sized businesses will follow the trend of this digital development, of the e-commerce development. And this fosters even a nice development, and this is something which happened in the last 12 months, is technology is getting easier and less nerdy. So you have pre-manufactured, pre-configured solutions for smaller retailers, smaller businesses that they can easily, let's say, use out of the box, being already connected in the entire value chain of payment services, of delivery services, where you have standardized interfaces and data exchange. And I think this will enable this trend in 2021 even more.
Right. Well, look, you have all been out of the box, so thank you very much for that. We're at the end of our time, but we can't go without thanking you, our lovely audience, for giving us some of your time. Ludo, for all your hard work on the report and for bringing that to life for us. Really appreciate that. Elle, Thomas, fantastic contribution. Thank you so much for chipping in and for keeping us interested throughout this last 50 minutes. So just a final reminder, if you want to get the PDF, it makes a great present for loved ones, then do get it on retailx.net. Send us any questions, research@retailx.net. And do look out for, as Ludo said, a very busy schedule. We've got 27 country and regional reports coming out this year. So there's absolutely no excuse not to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes of e-commerce in Europe. So thank you all for your time. And once again, to our guests, thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks, Ludo. Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks.